So we'll see. Hello, everybody. We are live, and it looks like we actually went off without a hitch, which is awesome because with Mercury retrograde, I was not sure how this was going to work out today. Hello, everybody. I am so excited to have you here with me for another episode of my guest interviews. And today I have the lovely Deb DeWilde, and I'm so excited to talk to her because we were talking when I first met her about this idea of like how we get shaped and how we end up with these beliefs that we may not even know where they're from or where they came from or why we believe what we believe. And we got into a really good discussion about it. So I was really excited to have her on today. And we're going to be talking about how family expectations have shaped who we are. Now, you guys know I don't get into all of the like professional bio and all of that stuff. Like the women that I have on here just know they're all amazing and they're wonderful. And Deb is one of those. It's just truly amazing in the shamanic work that she does. And we're so blessed and happy to have her here as a guest today. And we're going to get right into it. Now, that being said, everything you need to know about her, where you need to find her on social media, her website, all of the links are in the description. So if you have any questions about how to find her, how to connect with her, all of those things, definitely check out the description box and you'll get all of the good, juicy professional bio details that you would like. But let's just jump right into it. So Deb, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into the work that you're doing.
Well, first off, I'd just like to thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate you and I really appreciate your time. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Um,
I'm looking at the comments already coming in. So I'm like, oh,
I
yeah.
know. It was like, boom.
Yeah. Rest and
So,
reset. And hello, lovelies. Hello. We're so glad to have you here.
Awesome. So I'm a shaman. I really started out always knowing that I was going to work with people. And it was really important to me to help be able to advocate for people who weren't able to advocate for themselves. And I was in the field for about 32 or more years, but in the middle of that, I started training with Reiki and other modalities. And then I was actually approached by another shaman who looked at me and said, you know, Deb, you are a shaman. And I didn't really expect that. And the more I did research and the more I really looked into it, I thought, you know, I really am. And so it's come naturally to me. And it's something that I've really appreciated being as part of my life. And always, I'll stop shaking the table, always, really what's been really important to me is to help people who can't advocate for themselves or who don't feel like they fit in or are consumed with different thoughts that they're not good enough. We go into depression and we have lots of anxiety in this world, and it's all about what is expected of us or we presume is expected of us when we go outside of our home.
Isn't that so interesting too? It's funny when you're talking about that because I feel you when you're talking about that. I'm like, I remember when I was first called into this work, I'm like, who am I to do this? Right? Like, who am I to do this work? So it's really interesting how many of us as healers feel that same way, right? We know we're being called to something more. We know we're meant to help people. And then we go through that, are we good enough ourselves? Right? Which is actually really powerful because when you can really reconcile that within yourselves and you're able to help clients on an even deeper level, right? Yeah. So in talking about the expectations, I love that we decided to talk about family expectations and how that shapes us. And the other thing I want to also kind of talk about too is how we have expectations on ourselves based on what those expectations from our family have been. So how did you first start realizing that that was like some of the work that you needed to address was the expectation piece?
Well, I was born in between two worlds, and that was one of my one side of the family was believed to be upper middle class, and their organized religion was believed to be it, and the other parents religion was considered to be, oh, you live across the town or across the tracks.
Wrong side of the tracks.
and they and that family was considered to be low income. And so I had this bouncing where I was accepted completely in the family who had no money, and I was not accepted unless I looked a certain way, act a certain way, wore certain clothing, used certain language. And so I didn't really know where I fit in any of it. And the more I came into my own as a youth, and I started, but either way, with organized religion, I was taught to fear. And there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of, you need to do this or else. There was a lot of, you need to, even in my hair was something as simple as, back in the day, it wasn't okay to have curly hair. You were in if you had the straight hair, if you were blonde, if you were thin, even, nails had to be a certain particular way. And what I've learned is that really is a choice. And I'm absolutely wonderful the way I am today. And I don't have to wear a certain thing when I go outside. I don't have to put on my cloak of competence. I don't have to worry about what other people are thinking of me. And that's how, with family expectations that were placed on me, that's exactly how I was raised. So I literally would go and actually apologize for not being thin if I was out.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the not
Mm-hmm.
being good enough. And it's interesting too how those kind of things turn into beliefs that we have. So, like in my book, I call it the nasty little mean girl, because in my voice, that's what it was.
Yeah,
You don't look
yeah,
good enough. You're not presentable.
yeah.
You're not doing this well enough. Your house isn't clean enough. All of these little
Mm-hmm.
you're not enough
Mm-hmm.
things would play over and over in my head, and it's been passed down. It's not. I want to make it very clear that when we're talking about healing work, it's never about blaming our family. It's never about
Right.
blaming anyone else
Exactly.
for what we've experienced. But it's okay. This is my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do I reconcile this within myself? How do I heal this
Mm-hmm.
within myself? How do I become somebody who understands that I'm good enough just the way I am?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the work that's going to help me get there? And of course, the spiritual work is so powerful because you can shift things so quickly
Mm-hmm.
in doing that. But it's getting even the slightest bit of acknowledgement to these expectations that you have, that you've either inherited or you've aligned with,
Mm-hmm.
or that your family's always said, right? At least this is the way
Mm-hmm.
it always is. So all of those
Right.
kind of expectations really play into what then we take on as our own imprint and our own expectations for ourselves, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you're working with
Absolutely.
clients and shifting that, um how does that kind of show up? Like we've talked about this already. And for those of you that are following us, if you're new, these are just conversations to me. This is an interview with Deb so that we can get a feel for who she is and what she does. But also, I like to always have these be just an open conversation. So let us know if you have any questions. Let us know what is coming up in this conversation, because whenever we have these conversations, it also is a good way for us to tune into our own self and say, gosh,
Mm-hmm.
what are the expectations that I have on myself? Did I create these expectations, or did I inherit this because this is what my family always believed? And then how does that help me now? Like, how does realizing this or coming to this realization
Mm-hmm.
now help me? So what are kind of some of the base ones that you see over and over? I know that the big blanket one that I work with a lot with women is, I'm not worthy. That can translate into
Mm-hmm.
so many different things. But how does that usually show up for you? And how do you usually, like, what's your go-to way to help get to the right to the root of it? Because when we can get there, things can shift so quickly.
I really like to. Um, I have a I have a class that I teach, and it really talk about what is it at the core that you've been taught, as to who you are. Because when I ask people who they are, it's really kind of amazing what is said, or what's, kind of oozes out. And then we look at things on a much deeper level with the inner child work. And, it's amazing how fast we can go back into our inner child and look at as an observer without all the extra pain, and think, I was shut down here, here, and here. No wonder I don't feel like I have a voice in this particular place. and the lack of worthiness is absolutely prevalent in what I do as well, because we're taught unless we do certain things, a certain way, look a certain way, act a certain way, um, that that's how we are worthy. And the truth is, that's really not how we're worthy. It really comes from inside us and what we choose. It's always said that I'm kind of more comfortable in my own skin where I live compared to where I grew up, because I feel like there's one particular way I have to look, and here I'm just home. So it's really kind of cool. And I worked with somebody in their 70s who actually sat in a group and looked at me and said, I'm supposed to be a good girl. That's my role in life.
I
I'm
was
supposed to be a good
just,
girl.
yeah,
And
I was
and
just
then the
thinking about
tears started
that.
flowing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and what does that mean to be a good girl? What are the
yeah.
expectations and the set of strict rules that you have to follow
Hmm.
to fit into
Hmm.
that good girl? Because it's different for everybody, right? It's either
Hmm.
you have to have a certain job, you have to have a certain, you know,
Hmm.
hairstyle, you have to have a certain your kids better behave a certain way, you
Hmm.
better be this kind of wife, this kind of mom. Like there's so many different aspects where we can
Hmm.
get this. It's interesting too that you're talking about not being able to really speak your truth about who you are and whether or not you're comfortable being who you are, because that is also one of the things that I help women entrepreneurs who are
Hmm.
spirituals particularly
Hmm.
get past this idea of, is it okay to be this, right? Is it
Hmm.
okay to be this woo
Hmm.
woo person? Is it okay to do this
Hmm.
healing work? Is it okay to really truly be who I am and who I'm
Hmm.
called to be? Right? And stepping into that
Yeah. Oh,
role. And
yeah.
it's amazing what can
Yeah.
happen just on those tiny little aha moments. I feel like, just
Hmm.
like you said, she was like, oh my God, I was supposed to be a good girl. And that released
Hmm.
all of this.
Hmm.
It can shift so quickly when you're just aware of it.
And you would have never known that from that woman,
Hmm.
because she appears very strong in her community. She's a leader in her community, and she's the go-to in her community. And I would have never guessed that that simple statement would have been holding her so tight in her body all that time. But we all have those moments. We all have those statements. We all have those ceilings in life that our parents inadvertently place there because of their challenges.
Hmm.
We were expected to go to church.
Hmm.
I hope that people of today go to church because they like to. I'm not for or against. What I'm saying is there was an expectation, and now, hopefully people have more choice. They can. It's not something that if you don't go to church, you're not in the neighborhood
Hmm.
anymore. It's really kind of shifted. So.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's totally true. Um, I feel like it's everything as far as like what I feel like is shifting right now in the community as we know it is that more people are being awakened to the spiritual side of life and more people
Mhm.
are being awakened to um the idea of what are the
Mhm.
expectations that I have that maybe no longer serve me, right? And what
Right.
does that even mean that it doesn't
Right.
serve you anymore? And just like that, the idea of having to be a good girl has essentially held her
Mhm.
hostage almost her whole life because she hasn't been
Mhm.
able to express maybe the truth of who she is because she was trying to
Right.
fit into this certain mold that was supposed to be who she was according to everybody else, right?
Right. Right. And it was just such a precious moment with her, to be able to facilitate that moment where there was that release
Mhm.
and the ability just for her to walk without that tension
Mhm.
is just precious to me. And there's a lot of people out there who are holding on to different ideologies of others, who we've been conditioned to accept. We've been conditioned to believe that's who we are, and what we should be doing. And the truth is, all my life, I looked outside of myself because I was supposed to get married early and have 2.4 babies and have a house, and right. And I went for career first.
Mhm.
So we all have different things and different strengths. It's just that we now are especially with the internet, it's not just you're looking at your neighbors or your neighbors' homes, but it's the same thing on the internet, because people they make sure they look a particular way, and not everyone is expressing their true self on the net,
Right.
because we have things to show, and that's great. But there are, the more authentic that we become and go within, I find the more that we can release any of the toxic conditioning that we've experienced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love the idea of just taking a chance to like not worry about what everybody else is doing, right?
Yes.
Like, and it's so funny because I'm thinking about like part of the growth that I've gone through myself is realizing that everybody, the reason that they have these ideas of what you
Mm-hmm.
should do, especially like our parents, right? Like they want to keep
Mm-hmm.
us safe. They want to keep us into what we know or what they know so that they feel safe, that they think we're safe.
Right,
Like
right.
it's all this big game about
Mm-hmm.
the illusion of safety in this human experience, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
even these expectations, if we can take away the emotional charge of being that they're bad and just look at them
Mm-hmm.
for what is this? Like that's one of the
Right.
most powerful things I like to do with my clients is what is this? Like what is it?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you believe it? How can you shift it? Do you want to shift it? Is it something
Mm-hmm.
that's served, like is it helping you get further in life of experiencing what you want? And then of course letting go of all the expectations of other people and literally living life on your own terms
Mm-hmm.
by
Mm-hmm.
knowing
Mm-hmm.
who am I, what do I want, what do I
Mm-hmm.
want to experience, what do I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when we're stuck in that you have to be a good girl,
Mm-hmm.
we don't even think about what we want or what we would like to experience in life. We just go with the set structure of this is what life is, right? So it's
Right,
being brave
right,
enough to break out of what these expectations are,
right.
right?
And breaking free is scary to a lot of people, but it's so exhilarating at the same time. And I always say to people, I'm going to walk through this with you, because how often do we have someone who will walk through that with us to
Mhm.
get to the other side, to look at, you're not crazy. It's okay to lean on someone, and it's okay to be able to make the decisions on you, with support, yet from a place of truth within you,
Mhm.
and we all do it. And and everything is always in this, layered upon layers upon layers. Like we say, it's like an onion. It just never ends, right?
Mhm.
But the more that we can allow our true self to come up and release all the other expectations, I find that the more peaceful people are.
Right, right.
You must too in your practice.
Letting go of the
Hmm.
expectations is huge because
Hmm.
there's so many different ways we could go with this.
Hmm.
I love that you said that you walk through it with them. Like
Hmm.
it's so funny. I love that we're in the same sync too. Like this,
Hmm.
our shirts are this. I'm like,
I
this is so
noticed
great. I
that.
noticed
I
it. I was like,
noticed
oh my god,
that.
we're totally in the same wavelength right now.
Hmm.
This morning in the shower, I was thinking that I'm like, I used to laugh and tell my clients like it took me 8 years, I can help you in 8 weeks, like let's just get to, I went through all the hard stuff for you, like let's just get right
Exactly,
laser point
exactly.
to it
Hmm.
and get to this.
Hmm.
And it's so
Hmm.
funny because it's so true, and that's what I was thinking this morning in the shower is like um I actually was writing, I can't remember if I was working on email or post or what I was working on, and I haven't even put this out yet. I don't know when it's coming out, but
Hmm.
I get like downloads in the morning. I have my little ritual where I have my coffee and I sit with my notebook and I whatever. And it was like, you absolutely don't need any of us. You don't need a healer. You don't need
Hmm.
a coach. You don't need a mentor. You don't need whatever. But if you want to get through your stuff 10 times faster, you absolutely want a shaman, a healer, a
Hmm.
coach, a
Hmm.
mentor, a group. And
Hmm.
you want somebody to help you through it because you'll get through it so much faster because
Hmm.
sometimes you're so stuck in, no, I have to be a good girl. You can't even see the other side of that.
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
it takes somebody to ask you,
Hmm.
what do you want? for you to even be able to break out of it sometimes. So that's where the whole idea of working with somebody else is so powerful, and why people like you that are healers are so powerful, right? It's amazing the realizations that my clients can get, and I'm sure yours are exactly the same way, how quickly it comes when you're helping to facilitate versus if they were trying to do
Yes,
the work on their own.
absolutely. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And they weren't expecting. A lot of people aren't expecting what comes through in a session. And the truth is, unless we've discussed it, I don't plan sessions out.
Me either.
Unless we say they want to try this type of session or that type of session. Excuse me. I actually don't plan it, because it's really what's coming from their soul.
Mhm.
It's their soul that's doing the releasing, the allowing, from their level of consciousness. So it's really up to them as to what's going on, and you just don't know in a day,
Right.
and
How
it's
much everything
beautiful.
can shift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So really quick, what does it look like to work with you? Like if somebody wanted to work with you, what would like a typical, do you do sessions, or do
hmm
you do
hmm
like a group thing, or like how do people, is it just a one-time session, or do you have, what do you offer, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask.
What I offer is monthly mentorships.
Okay.
And what I do is I work with people from twice a month up to twice a week, depending on their need and depending on finances. And what I do with that is, not only am I available to the agreed upon time, I'm also available during other times when simple things come up. So throughout the entire month, they actually have my full support. So they can get a hold of me through Messenger or through email or texting. And as long as I'm not working with someone, I always answer. And the thing for me is, I've been in situations, you know, especially in my 20s, where I saw a counselor and she would open me up wide.
Mhm.
And then she'd go, "Oh, it's 5 o'clock. I'm sorry. Our hour
Time's
is
up.
up." And I'm like, raw, and my thoughts are, that's not helpful. That's I appreciate that they have an hour scheduled for here, an hour for there for you next week, or but I find that I can't it's not cathartic or therapeutic to turn off what's happening because of a timeline. So I work with people um, so that we get through what they're experiencing at the time.
Mhm.
So I always say, you know, we'll think about an hour, but some people are done in 45 minutes. Some people are done in an hour and a half.
Mhm.
And so if something comes up 3 days later, I'm hoping the relationship that we've built is that they're going to get a hold of me and say, "I just have a question about this," or, "I feel relieved." I hope that they are able to actually connect with me and do that. So we work month to month in that ideal. And sometimes people are with me 3 months, sometimes people are with me over a year. It really just depends on what
Mhm.
their needs are, because it's not about me. I am the facilitator. So it's about what that person needs for what they want to address.
And I know you said you do Reiki, and what a like,
Yes.
and I know you have some like gift items as well, or some healing, like what I remember you telling me something, and I was like, something with feathers, and I need to know about that. I don't remember what that was.
So I'm also a Reiki master, an advanced Akashic um, facilitator. I do sacral soul alignment, time heal. So I have multi-modalities under my belt. I have a lot of work. I've done a lot of work with people with disabilities. Children and adults under the autism spectrum with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, PTSD, all that kind of stuff. So, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So with me, you get a balance of the clinician and the spiritual. So if you need to be safe, I can keep a safe sacred space with people if they go to a particular place on a mental health level. And I'm able to take people on amazing journeys with vision quests, soul retrievals, past life regressions, those kinds of things. So, and the other, I gotta stop touching the table. And the other thing, and the other thing I love to do is I love mediumship, and I love to bring people in a room with the loved ones who have passed on. That is incredible to me. That is incredible to me. And I actually make one-of-a-kind smudging fans.
That's what it was, the smudging fans. I was like, I knew there was something that I was like, oh my gosh, I love those.
And this is mine. And so with each smudging fan, this is malachite. There we go.
I love malachite.
And with each smudging fan, I meet with the person for about 30 minutes and get to know them.
Oh, I love that.
And you love this one, eh?
I know. I'm like, I love that one. It has everything I love about it.
And so I meet with them. I just get to know them. We just have a little chit chat. And then about 4 to 6 weeks, it takes me, because Spirit let me, once I have permission to work with their guides, Spirit says, pick up that feather, go and get that crystal. And for the first couple weeks, I'm just in the gathering stage for them, because I'm working with their guides. The guides are telling me it's this feather. And with each feather placement, crystal placement, and type of handle is all created together. And then at the very end, everything is cleared, blessed, and it goes through a birthing shamanic drumming ceremony.
Love that. Oh my gosh. So, yeah. I love when I talk to women on these interviews, because everybody's so multifaceted and we love so many different things. And I do find, like, when we're healers, like, we want to know all of the modalities because we want every tool in the toolbox that we can do. And it's so amazing to be able to embrace all of that. And I love how you're tying it all together and bringing it all together. So
it becomes their divine tool.
Right. Especially,
and then they get all the messages that have been included in that
so
particular thing. Yeah, it's their divine tool.
I love that. Okay, so really quick, let's kind of tie this up. If you had one message to leave everybody with as far as how to deal with the family expectations and how family expectations build who we are.
Please know that you are worthy. And everything will come to fruition once you start really believing in who you are and that you are really worthy. And it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter if you've got the nicest house in the world. It's really about what's inside, because you can have the biggest mansion and you not be happy inside. And people used to believe in that was how we developed our self-esteem. And the truth is, it's who you are inside. And if you start believing in you, then miracles can happen.
That's a perfect way to end it. Miracles can happen. So anyway, you guys, thank you all for joining us. I'm going to check really quick and make sure to see if there's any other comments. I think it's just thank you for sharing, resonating with what we've said. So I love this so much. Thank you so much for being with us today. As always, you guys, if there's any questions, if you're catching this on the replay, go ahead and just comment #replay. And then if you have any questions, just tag either one of us in Embodied Grace community. This will be there and we can continue the dialogue within this. And you can actually tag Deb. She's in the community as well. So if you have any questions, just let us know about this. I really appreciate the conversation and just the idea, like, for those of you that are watching back, just think, what are the expectations that I have and where do they come from? And do they really matter? Or is this something that you can shift and let go of? Does it really align with who you are and what you want? So, and I love it that, as always, the theme always seems to be you are worthy. So sending you guys lots of love. Thanks for joining us today. And Deb, thanks so much for coming on to be my guest. And we will see everybody soon.
Thanks for having me. Many blessings.